A Union of Nations. The European Union is a political and economic union of 27 member states located primarily in Europe. It was established in the aftermath of World War II with the aim of promoting peace, stability, and economic prosperity in the region. Today, the EU is the world's largest trading bloc and one of the most influential political entities on the global stage. The EU was founded on the principles of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Its institutions are designed to ensure that decisions are made in a transparent and accountable manner, with the interests of all member states taken into consideration. The EU is governed by a complex system of treaties, laws, and regulations that have been developed over the course of several decades. One of the key features of the EU is its commitment to free movement of people, goods, services, and capital. This has enabled businesses to operate across borders, creating jobs and driving economic growth. It has also allowed citizens to travel, study, and work in other EU countries, promoting cultural exchange and understanding. Despite its many achievements, the EU faces a number of challenges. These include rising nationalism and populism, the ongoing refugee crisis, and the threat of terrorism. However, the EU remains committed to working together to address these challenges and to promote peace, prosperity, and stability in Europe and beyond. The origins of the EU can be traced back to the aftermath of World War II. The devastation caused by the war led European leaders to seek a new way of organizing their countries in order to prevent future conflict. In 1951, 6 countries, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, signed the Treaty of Paris, which established the European Coal and Steel Community. This was the first step towards greater economic and political integration in Europe. Over the next few decades, the EU continued to expand and evolve. In 1957, the Treaty of Rome was signed, which established the European Economic Community (EEC). This was followed by the creation of the European Parliament in 1979 and the adoption of the Single European Act in 1986, which aimed to create a single market for goods and services across the EU. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked a new era for the EU. The EU began to expand rapidly, with the addition of 12 new member states between 2004 and 2007. This brought the total number of member states to 27. The EU has also played a key role in promoting peace and stability in Europe. It has helped to resolve conflicts in the Balkans and has supported the transition to democracy in countries such as Spain, Portugal, and Greece. Today, the EU faces a number of challenges, including the ongoing refugee crisis, rising nationalism and populism, and the threat of terrorism. However, the EU remains committed to working together to address these challenges and to promote peace, prosperity, and stability in Europe and beyond. The EU is governed by a complex system of institutions that are designed to ensure that decisions are made in a transparent and accountable manner. These institutions include 1. The European Council. This is the highest political body in the EU. It is made up of the heads of state or government of each member state, as well as the President of the European Council and the President of the European Commission. The European Council sets the overall political direction of the EU. 2. The European Commission. This is the executive branch of the EU. It is responsible for proposing new laws and policies, enforcing EU law, and managing the day-to-day operations of the EU. The European Commission is made up of one commissioner from each member state. 3. The European Parliament. This is the directly elected legislative body of the EU. It has the power to approve, amend, or reject EU laws and policies. The European Parliament is made up of 705 members of the European Parliament MEPs who are elected by citizens of the EU member states. 4. The Council of the European Union. This is the main decision-making body of the EU. It is made up of ministers from each member state who are responsible for specific policy areas. The Council of the European Union works together with the European Parliament to adopt EU laws and policies. 5. The Court of Justice of the European Union. This is the judicial branch of the EU. It is responsible for interpreting EU law and ensuring that it is applied correctly in all member states. The Court of Justice of the European Union is made up of one judge from each member state. These institutions work together to ensure that decisions are made in the best interests of all member states. They are accountable to the citizens of the EU and are committed to promoting democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. The EU has brought many benefits to its member states and citizens. Some of the key benefits include 1. Economic prosperity. The EU is the world's largest trading bloc, with a GDP of over 15 trillion. It has created a single market for goods and services, which has enabled businesses to operate across borders and has created jobs and economic growth. 2. Free movement. The EU allows citizens to travel, study, and work in other member states without the need for visas or work permits. This has promoted cultural exchange and understanding, and has enabled people to take advantage of new opportunities. 3. Peace and stability. The EU has played a key role in promoting peace and stability in Europe. It has helped to resolve conflicts in the Balkans and has supported the transition to democracy in countries such as Spain, Portugal, and Greece. 4. Environmental protection. The EU has implemented a range of policies and regulations aimed at protecting the environment. This includes measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, promote renewable energy, and protect biodiversity. 5. Consumer protection. The EU has implemented a range of measures aimed at protecting consumers. This includes regulations on product safety, food labeling, and data protection. 6. Human rights. The EU is committed to promoting democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. It has implemented a range of measures aimed at protecting these values, including the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. Overall, the EU has brought many benefits to its member states and citizens. It has created a more prosperous, peaceful, and sustainable Europe, and has helped to promote these values around the world. Despite its many achievements, the EU faces a number of challenges. Some of the key challenges include: 1. Rising nationalism and populism. Many EU member states are experiencing a rise in nationalist and populist movements, which are challenging the principles of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. 2. The refugee crisis. The EU is facing a large influx of refugees and migrants, many of whom are fleeing conflict and persecution in their home countries. This has put a strain on the EU resources and has led to tensions between member states. 3. The threat of terrorism. The EU is facing an increased threat of terrorism, with a number of attacks taking place in recent years. This has led to increased security measures and a focus on counter-terrorism efforts. 4. Brexit. The UK decision to leave the EU has created uncertainty and has raised questions about the future of the EU. The EU and the UK are currently negotiating a withdrawal agreement, which will determine the terms of the UK departure from the EU. Despite these challenges, the EU remains committed to working together to address them and to promote peace, prosperity, and stability in Europe and beyond. The EU is constantly evolving and adapting to new challenges, and is committed to ensuring that it remains relevant and effective in the years to come.